on Westwood One Sports, live across North America on Sirius XM Channel 375. Coming up in about 25 minutes. One of the coolest things when you were a little kid happened last night in minor league baseball. Twice on consecutive pitches. I'll let you hear it for yourself. Plus, an updated look with just a couple of games left, a couple of days left at the NBA playoff picture. And in about 40 minutes, we know where Ty Simpson is going now. I don't know how long he's going to be there, but we'll get into it before 11 o'clock when Bob Nightingale will join us, Odyssey MLB Insider. Nick Friedel later in the show as well, Odyssey NBA Insider. Lucky enough right now, though, to be joined from Sports Illustrated and live from Augusta by the great Bob Harig, who joins us here on You Better You Bet. Morning, Bob. How are things on the grounds this morning?
Near perfect. The weather's really, really nice. We've had a great weather week so far. A little cool. It's going to warm up. Great test of weights now. It's been a long time since Augusta hasn't had any rain whatsoever, and there's not been hardly a drop since maybe Sunday. So it's going to be a really, really good firm test, and the people that are here are going to really enjoy it because the weather's perfect.
Yeah, that's the story that everybody keeps bringing up are the conditions and how getting a dried out Augusta, a crispy Augusta, as I've heard some people reference it, is going to make what are already diabolical greens even more difficult. Rory McIlroy, though, yesterday, despite not thinking, I don't think he sounded like he thought he had the best round of his life, was fantastic on the greens and with the putter. Is it likely that we could continue to see Rory or anybody else put together that kind of day putting over the next 3 days that we saw from him yesterday?
I don't really think it is that likely. That was a great, type of round that you got to have to be in contention. He didn't have his best stuff. He only hit 5 fairways, but yet he only made 1 bogey. And he took advantage of the opportunities that he gave himself. And look, I don't think there's going to be a lot of 67s the rest of the way. I mean, there might be 1 or 2, or there might even be a 66 or 5 somewhere. But you know what? We only had, only 5 scores in the 60s yesterday. That gives you an idea. And yeah, a lot of players under par, but still only 5 in the 60s on a day that was just perfect weather-wise. So, a little bit of breeze. So it shows you that the course is already playing tough, and I don't think it's going to get any easier. Who was it who said, I think it was Xander Schauffele, they can do whatever they want on the greens. He said they can make them as brutal as they want. If they want to put some water on them, they can do that. He goes, we're just going to have to wait and see. So I think what Roy did yesterday was great. I mean, to give yourself a little cushion like that is really helpful.
Bob Harig of Sports Illustrated with us live from Augusta here on You Better You Bet on Westwood One Sports. What do you think the feeling is of the crew at Augusta as far as whether they want to make it that more difficult test that we're currently seeing? Like we hear fans talk all the time about how they get sort of a sick, twisted, deranged enjoyment during U.S. Opens where the winner comes in at 3 over par, or, watching guys at Oakmont struggle with the greens. Or is the feeling at Augusta that they want to see the greats come in and struggle at times? Or is there still a thought, hey, the best golf might not always be the hardest golf?
Yeah, I definitely think there's a fine line they straddle there. The sort of want to have tough, firm, stressful conditions balanced with, hey, we also want to see birdies and great shots. So how do you balance that? And my sense is over the years that they've tried to make it tough, especially on Saturday. And then they let off the gas a little on Sunday. They'll have some accessible pins. They'll allow you to try to to make birdies and eagles. You know, but yet if you don't hit good shots, you're going to pay for it. And I think as much as fans like to see these guys suffer a little bit, I also think they like to see birdies. You know, I think they like to see people go for it on 13 and 15 and try to have eagle putts. You know, for as tough as it was yesterday, I believe there were 11 eagles. You know, I think it's a great balance. I mean, there was 10 scores in the 80s, and yet there were 11 eagles. So far so good on that. I think it's the right mix. You know, what you don't want is to hear guys complaining, this is unfair. You know, that pin placement is ridiculous. I mean, I hope it doesn't evolve into that. There's always going to be some frustration, I think. You know, the course borders on really, really difficult in the best of times. But then when you get these kind of conditions, that possibility, you know, goes up even more.
When you talk about what the patrons want to see at Augusta, Bob, what is the, I guess, general feeling towards Rory? I think, in my opinion, I always want to see the greats do well in the majors. I think most golf fans do. Is there an overwhelming pro-Rory feeling? Was there coming into round one, or do you feel it sort of bubbling up going into the second round today?
I don't think there's any question he's a very, very popular champ. You know, whether he won or lost last year, he'd be very, very popular. And the fact that he's now a Masters champion probably makes him even more so. You know, and as I think you saw with last year, the way he was embraced and the way, this was nothing against Justin Rose either. I don't think people dislike or didn't want to see him win. It's just that it was Rory, right, who had a chance to complete the career Grand Slam, finally win the Masters. The emotion, the ups and downs that he took everybody on the back nine, you know, I think I think that maybe even adds to his popularity. So he's going to remain, I think, a very, very popular champion here. And there's no question people will get behind him, you know. But I say that there's a lot of that. You know, Jordan Spieth, they get behind. You know, I have a feeling they'll be behind Scotty Scheffler, Xander, all kinds of guys. So this is a place where you don't really see too much negativity. It's all about, you know, rooting for everyone, and some get a little bit more than others.
Bob Harig of Sports Illustrated with us live from Augusta here on Westwood One Sports. Chris Mackin for Nick Costos this morning. It was not a great day to be one of the big live names. I know Patrick Reed had a good day. You know, an even par for Brooks Koepka, but we saw Bryson DeChambeau blow up on 11. We see John Rahm shoot a 78. What in your opinion is causing these guys to walk into Augusta and struggle the way they have?
Yeah, and look, Koepka and Reed aren't even part of live anymore, you know, so that makes the live ledger look even worse because they didn't have a single player out of their 10 break par. I happen to think it's just coincidence. Like, I know there's been a lot of conjecture. Oh, well, you know, they don't play enough real golf or they don't play enough difficult courses. I have a hard time buying that. I mean, Bryson's been good here the last 2 years playing the live schedule. Rahm hasn't played great at the Masters since he joined live, but he had 2 top 10s in majors last year. He's played pretty good outside of live, and obviously within live, he's been terrific. I just think, you know, you're a pro golfer, you're a pro athlete, you have a lot of pride. You figure out a way to be prepared. And I just think it's golf. You know, Rahm and Bryson had bad days yesterday, and Rahm especially was shocking. He did not make a birdie. You know, I did not see that coming. I just find that to be really, really surprising. You know, to have the kind of day that he had. You know, and he's just starting out now. He's just on the first hole, but I mean, you know, made a double at I think it was 13. You know, that's the hole he should be. You know, dominating, right? And and Bryson, got into some trouble too. I mean, those two guys won the last three live events. Rahm won one, and then Bryson won the last two. So that's to me is an outlier. The rest of the results are kind of random, and also it was also just one day. And look, there's PGA Tour guys who didn't have good days yesterday. Too, it just happens. It's part of it. Patrick Cantley shot 77. He's one of the top players on the PGA Tour. He probably had pretty good prep coming in based on the schedule that he played. I don't think anybody's going to say, well, he didn't play the right tournaments to get ready for the Masters. I just think sometimes this happens, and it was just unfortunate for them that it happened to all their guys at once.
Bob, you mentioned Cantley. I brought up DeChambeau and Rahm. Who else is in trouble today unless they can really go low in the second round and figure out the greens and put some small numbers up? Who else is in danger of missing the cut?
Yeah, Bob McIntyre's one. He was in contention last week in San Antonio. I think he had a 9 on 15 yesterday. That's going to make it tough to overcome. I think he shot 80. Just trying to look through the list to see a few guys. Obviously, we mentioned Rahm. He 6 over. The cut's probably going to be. I'm guessing the cut's going to come in around 3 over. So he's going to have to get under par today. There's some other guys that are in trouble. Obviously, Bryson got to probably play pretty well today to make a move. There's some guys that are well down the list. Brian Harman, who won the British Open a couple of years ago, is way back. Davis Riley, I think, is in last. Just having a real bad tournament. So, look, somebody has to miss the cut. Only 50 guys and ties are going to make it. So you're going to have some guys who have tough days. I mentioned Cantlay, 5 over. He's outside the cut line right now. He's going to probably need to be under par today to make it.
Bob Harig of Sports Illustrated in Augusta joining us here on You Better You Bet on Westwood One Sports. I saw it tweeted out last night, Bob. 79 of the 89 Masters winners all time were within 5 strokes of the lead after the first round. So as we size up the leaderboard after round 1, to your point, there were not a lot of guys that shot under 70, much less below par yesterday. Who's somebody that's within that 5-stroke range, though, that you go, you know what? May not have had a fantastic day 1, but could make a move on day 2, day 3, and we find ourselves watching him walking down 18 with a shot to win on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, so to that point, anybody within 5, that was, I believe, 32 or 33 guys were even par or better. So, that's a third of the field is basically in that window, right, of someone who in theory has the ability to win based on history. So, I can give you a couple of them, like Tommy Fleetwood was 1 under, 4 back, Justin Thomas, even par. I'm not sure if JT's game is back to the point yet where he's going to contend here. But I certainly think Fleetwood could. They were even Shane Lowry, couple under par yesterday on a tough day. So that's the thing is, as tough as it was, there were still that many guys at par or better, and they've not shot themselves out of it. The idea is, I think even today, just stay in touch with the lead. Don't be too far back. If you can be 3 or 4 back at the end of today, now you've whittled it down even more of the people that have a chance to win, and you've given yourself a shot on the weekend.
I want to circle all the way back around to Rory, Bob, and the idea that he looks, I know he said he had some butterflies on the first tee yesterday, but he just looks to be much more relaxed and at ease after last year's win. And like you said, the completion of the Grand Slam. Where do you think it puts him? Let's project all the way out to Sunday and say Rory pulls off the back-to-back, just the 4th one in Masters history, and puts himself up there with names like Woods and Faldo and Nicklaus as guys who've won back-to-back Masters. How much of what people have in their memory banks of the years that he struggled at majors to complete the Grand Slam, how much of that do you think just washes away and people say, no, you know what? Even if he's not necessarily ranked the number one in the world as Scottie Scheffler routinely is, Rory is the guy. Rory is the face that gets us to tune in on Sundays, especially at a major, if he could pull off a back-to-back victory.
I absolutely think that matters. It does sort of dampen the disappointments that he's gone through over the past few years. He probably should have won the Open at St. Andrews in 2022. He didn't. He actually didn't miss a green that final round and still got overtaken. He had great chances in 23 and 24 at the U.S. Open. Very, very disappointing losses, both. But to win another Masters, to win a sixth major, no matter what it is probably even bigger than winning back-to-back Masters. It's it just puts you in such rare company. There's not too many people unless you consider Tiger and Phil, there's nobody active in the game who has six majors. So to get to that level is really, really impressive. I mean, we're just not going to see too many people do that going forward, I don't think. And if he gets this one, or even not, it's not to say he's not going to get a couple more. He's playing some great golf. Why couldn't he win the PGA this next month? Why couldn't he win the Open at Royal Birkdale? I mean, I just think that the possibilities are still there for him to ratchet up a few more.
Bob, want to thank you for your time. Get out there and enjoy the second round and the rest of the weekend at Augusta. Have a pimento sandwich for us and enjoy the rest of the Masters, my friend. I can't believe there's still only $5. That's insane.
Hey, the sandwiches are $1.50. Still, it's the same price as 10 years ago.
Well,
Crazy.
Fill up on the sandwiches.
The beers are $5 now, so hey, that's gone up a little bit, and even that's a good deal.
Still a heck of a deal. Enjoy it, my friend. I appreciate your time. Thanks again.
Thanks so much for having me. Be well.
Yep, Bob Harig of Sports Illustrated down at Augusta and the Masters, and you heard him say it there. Like, Rory is in a position to join rarefied air. If Rory were to pull off the back-to-back, and I know we're talking about this after 18 holes for him, so maybe we're putting the cart ahead of the horse. But one of two things is going to happen. Rory's either going to convert the first-round lead into a back-to-back Masters championship, and as Bob said, elevate himself to that rarefied air alongside names like Woods and Nicklaus, and not quite with Jack, I know, but he's going to be the face, and he's going to be amongst the greats. Or he's not going to hold on after having the first round lead, and all of those questions